On that fateful Friday morning, it was heard over the radio that 27 schoolgirls from different schools in Lagos had suddenly gone missing. 27? That was such a big number. What really happened? Was it merely a coincidence that it happened the morning after Valentine? No one could really explain or understand the situation. Meanwhile, Mama Grace was shocked to her bones after Toba's school called and informed her that her granddaughter was missing. She could not believe her ears. Just last week, she had seen a terrible dream about her precious granddaughter and had warned her over it, telling her to be careful. Mama Grace trusted Toba so well and knew she would never go against her words. So what could have gone wrong? Or had Toba, her well-disciplined grandchild, also strayed the wrong lane and done the unexpected? We find out all about it and many more in this fascinating tale about deception, online affairs, and how bonds of friendship can sometimes put us at danger's way. Before we delve deeper, please like this video and hit the subscribe button below. You are in for a ride. Toba and Abby became best friends immediately after they met in the girls' hostel. They were birds of different feathers who liked to fly together, meaning that they were from different family backgrounds, and their attitude and approach to anything was always different. Toba came from a modest home. She was an orphan who lost both parents when she was only 5 years old. She was brought up by her grandmother, Mama Grace, in a small village in Delta State. Toba won a scholarship to the prestigious all-girls college in Lagos after scoring the highest in the village exams. Abby, on the other hand, was from a middle-class family. Her father was a top manager in an oil company, and he spoiled her with anything she wanted. Toba and Abby were both roommates in the hostel. Abby's luggage was full of expensive clothes, and she carried an iPhone. She was always active on Instagram, chatting with different guys just for the fun of it. Toba did not have an iPhone, or even a phone at all, but she didn't mind, because Abby allowed her to use hers anytime she wanted. On Abby's insistence, Toba opened an Instagram account with Abby's phone, but she was not always active. She preferred to watch movies and play games than chat with strangers online. On the other hand, Abby was a social media freak. She was very adventurous and was always on the lookout for a new relationship online. One day, a guy named Muhammad messaged Abby on Instagram. Abby was excited over the details she saw about him. He lived in Lekki, an expensive area of Lagos State. Muhammad was a Lagos big boy, and his profile on Instagram said it all. He showed Abby pictures of his luxurious cars and jewelry collections. Abby was impressed. She loved getting into guys with a rich lifestyle. She told Toba all about Muhammad and even showed her all their chats. Toba was curious. "He's only 25 years old," she said to Toba. "He told me he is into importation and exportation of goods. He lives alone in Lekki. Girl, this guy is loaded." Toba was still not satisfied. "Why does he like you so much?" she asked out of concern. "Even when he has not even met you yet. Doesn't he know you are still in school?" "That is exactly why he likes me," Abby said excitedly. "He wants a schoolgirl who is still a virgin." "You mean you told him you are a virgin?" "We both know it's a lie, Abby." Shut up," Abby said, eyeing Edema sharply. "I told him that because I want him to like me. Besides, how will he ever find out?" A few days later, as Toba was doing her mathematics assignments in the room, Abby came in and showed her a message from her new boyfriend, Muhammad. She looked so excited. "Look, I just told Muhammad about you. He asked if I have a friend that is single. His friend wants someone to spend the time with. His name is Teo. I told him you are available. He has even sent you a message on your Instagram." "What?" Toba looked at her friend in surprise. "I told you I don't want any boyfriend yet. I'm just here to study hard and make it out with good grades." "And so what?" Abby looked at Toba with a sour face. "Look, these guys are clean guys. He's not asking you to come to his house or anything. He just wants to chat with you. That's all. What is so strange about that?" Toba did not want to annoy her best friend, so she complied by replying to the stranger's message. From that point onward, Toba began to communicate and get intimate with Teo, a guy she has never seen before. Teo told her that he was a final year student in a private university in Lagos. Just like his friend Muhammad, the invisible Teo was a rich kid. He always flaunted bundles of cash and expensive things on his social media handle, but he never for once showed his face. He never even spoke to her over the phone. Their conversations were only limited to Instagram chats. Toba was greatly bothered about this. One day she decided to ask him why he did that, why he insistently refused to show his face, even for once. "I just want to see you," she said, "at least to know what you look like. I just want to make it a surprise." Teo replied with another message. "I want to surprise you one day. Just calm down." "I'm worried, Teo," she typed. "You don't even have a profile picture. Why don't you want to show anyone your face?" "Look, Toba, I'm a very private guy." Teo replied, "You know, I have money. I don't want to make myself a target for dangerous people. I also don't want someone to impersonate me online and tarnish my image. I'm sure you're a smart girl. You know how these things work, don't you?" Toba felt she liked Teo, so she decided not to bother him about revealing himself. Even though she strongly suspected that something was wrong about the whole arrangement, she chose not to bother herself over it. After all, he has not asked her to come and see him, and he had not tried any silly moves so far. Toba was confident that things were going to play out quite fine. But if only she had listened to her instincts and ended the online affair with invisible Teo, she could have avoided the very trap that was so carefully set for her. There was no difference between Toba's boyfriend, Teo, and Abby's guy, Muhammad. They both refused to show their faces to the young schoolgirls. When Toba expressed her concerns to Abby, Abby made a face and dismissed Toba with a smirk. "Tana, I understand you have never had a boyfriend before, and maybe that is why you have these doubts. These guys are harmless. They have their reasons for refusing to reveal their faces. We just have to respect their decisions. Isn't that simple enough?" Toba decided not to press the matter. Since her best friend said it was okay, then it meant they were on the safe side. She had never been involved in an online relationship with anyone, so she allowed Abby to guide her on what to do. She did not want to lose a good friend by being too curious and asking too many questions. A few weeks after the online affair, Muhammad and Teo began to send the schoolgirls exquisite gifts. One day, while chemistry lessons was going on in class, Tana was informed that a delivery man was waiting with a special package at the school gate for her. Tana rushed out to get it. At the top was a signed message. "This is for you, princess. With love from Teo." Toba began to unwrap the package hastily. What she saw inside made her gasp in shock. There was a new Gucci bag, an expensive wristwatch, and very surprisingly, a brand new Android phone. To say that Toba was surprised was an understatement. She was overexcited and somehow afraid. She first showed them to Abby in their room. She did not know what to do with them. Her grandmother had always warned her about accepting free gifts from strangers. "I can't accept it, Abby," Toba said. The fear in her eyes was very visible. "I have never received something like this before. These things are so expensive. He even included a new phone simply because I told him I don't have one. How does he have so much money to spend? I feel so uncomfortable. What does he want from a 15-year-old girl like me?" Abby laughed at Toba even as she spoke. "Just listen to yourself, Toba," Abby said, sneering at her friend. "You mean you can't accept a gift simply because of those dumb reasons you just gave, babe? This guy has never asked you to do anything for him. He simply likes you, and he's trying to make you happy. It is something every guy does to someone they like. You keep talking as if you're still in your small village. Girl, this is Lagos. That is how the life here is. Anyways, I don't blame you. You are still trying to adapt to this kind of lifestyle. It is a big relief that you will no longer have to borrow my phone every time you need to chat. All thanks to your kind-hearted new friend, Teo." Toba still felt a little guilty and uncomfortable. There were 100 burning questions in her mind about Tayo's act of generosity, but she decided to keep quiet, out of fear of being called a village girl by her best friend. One thing stood out in her mind: she would never do anything stupid if he asks her to. She kept the gifts and waited to see what will happen. The new phone was what she appreciated most among the latest collection. With her own phone, Toba's chats with Tayo became more frequent. He seemed to know exactly what to say, how to make her laugh, how to make her forget her doubts. Yet something felt off, like a shadow just outside her vision. She could feel it, yet she sometimes doubted her own mind. If this is what happens to every girl, then surely hers was no different, she thought. Until one day, when they each received a fateful message that changed everything and caused an unexpected shift of events in their lives. It was the first week of the month of February, some days before the popular Valentine's Day. Toba and Abby each received messages from their online boyfriends, requesting that they should meet each other in a party on the special day. The two best friends discussed it in the evening, after having dinner with the other girls in the hostel. Toba told Abby that in her mind, she had already refused to show up for Tayo. Why? Abby asked with concern. I told you I don't want to do anything stupid for him simply because of what he gives me. We agreed to keep everything online, remember? As usual, Abby tried to talk Toba out of her decision. She explained that it was all harmless. There was nothing to be afraid of. Since it is going to be an open party, nothing could ever go wrong. She told Toba that it was going to be her little way of thanking Tayo, after all he has been doing to make her happy. Toba gradually began to see reasons with Abby. It seemed there was some sense in what she said this time, but the girls faced one major problem that was impossible to solve. Going outside the hostel without permission was out of bounds for every student, both in the day and at night. Toba and Abby discussed it among themselves for some time. It seemed like there was no way out for them. I have an idea, Abby said suddenly, jolting Toba from her thoughts. We can sneak out of the hostel at night, without the security man observing us. We will time him and get away quickly. Toba was not convinced. That will be a very difficult thing to do. What if we are caught and expelled indefinitely from this school? You know I am not from a rich family like you. I don't have any backup plan if I'm thrown out of here. I have to play it safe. I also don't want to lose you either. Abby reasoned Toba's words carefully. She also did not wish to be expelled from the hostel, but she was worried. She really wanted to meet Muhammad and Tayo. Surely there must be a way, she thought defiantly. They just had to wait and see. On Saturday, 4 days before Valentine, it was parents' visiting day in the girls' hostel. Toba's grandma, Mama Grace, came to check on her. Toba went out to meet her grandmother. They both smiled and hugged each other warmly. Mama Grace was proud of her granddaughter. They chatted at the veranda for some time, reliving fond memories and speculating about Toba's future. As Mama Grace rose to go home, she suddenly remembered something and turned back to Toba. My daughter, I had a terrible dream in my sleep 2 days ago, she narrated. In my dream, you were walking alone among a group of strange schoolgirls. You were all walking towards a large river. I kept calling you, but you refused to look back. When I woke up, I felt very weak. Mama Grace's voice was full of fear and trepidation. I don't know what that dream means, but my spirit tells me that you have to be very careful during this period. Do not take yourself anywhere out of this school. And remember, do not receive any gift from anybody, no matter what. Have you heard me? Yes, Mama. Toba replied respectfully. You know you can always trust me. I will always adhere to your instructions and advice. I will not do anything beyond that. I trust you, my darling, Grandma said. She was smiling. Let me be going. I will see you some other time. As Valentine's Day drew closer, the Instagram boyfriends, Muhammad and Tayo, became more insistent about their demand for a meetup with the girls. Abby and Toba were disturbed with concern. They did not know what to do. Abby was more concerned over it than Toba. She assured her boyfriend, Muhammad, that she would do everything to make it to the party. Toba, on the other hand, was more skeptical than ever. She told Abby about her grandmother's dreams and what she felt about it. As usual, Abby waved her objections aside. Toba, let me tell you, grandmothers are always having terrible dreams. This is because they think too much. Why didn't she dream of Teo buying you a new phone and all these expensive gifts? Why does it have to be about something terrible like that? Toba did not have any answer to that, so she kept quiet. Meanwhile, the pressure from Muhammad and Teo was getting intense as the D-Day drew closer. The girls knew they definitely had to do something about it. Valentine's Day finally arrived. At night, as the two girls tried to think about what to do, Muhammad sent Abby a message. "I have arranged a driver to pick you up at the school gate," it said. "We will be expecting you. Please tell Toba to get ready." The girls knew that the time had come. Abby took charge of the situation. She arranged 2 beautiful red dresses, one for Toba and one for herself, and told Toba to follow her. Toba was still very scared and nervous. "I know what I'm going to do," Abby said confidently. "If you do as I say, we will get past the security men safely." The young girls walked noiselessly on the spacious veranda and sneaked out of the building. They only had one more problem, which was bypassing the school's security men. Luckily for them, one of the night watchmen was deep asleep on his duty post. The smart girls decided to take advantage of the situation. Abby climbed the fence quietly and landed on the other side. Then she helped Toba to do the same. Toba's hands were shaking with fright. She wished she had not followed Abby in the first place. "You see, it was easy," Abby said triumphantly, as they put on the red dresses at the other side. A car was waiting for them by the gate. The girls recognized it immediately. They stepped inside and drove off. Toba felt restless and very nervous. She had a feeling that something terrible was about to happen, but she could not tell how or why. Abby, on the other hand, was not bothered. She was really curious about meeting their Instagram boyfriends. She refused to pay attention to what Toba was saying. The car soon pulled over in front of a big building on a quiet street. Loud music was blaring, and there were a lot of people inside. The driver called Muhammad and informed him that the girls are here. Not long after, a white, shiny car pulled in front of the club. Muhammad and Teo came out of the vehicle and met Toba and Abby, their faces full of smiles, like one who has been rewarded with a fortune. They hugged the girls and took them inside. After talking for a while, the guys left them to dance and went to get some drinks. There were so many people inside the arena. Toba observed that there were so many similar young girls everywhere. She turned and told Abby about it. Abby explained that schoolgirls in Lagos love to attend parties like this, so there was nothing wrong. As the music blared louder, Abby began to dance and vibe vigorously to the soulless music. Toba sat still, too nervous and shy to do anything. She simply wished the party would be quickly over with, and they could go home. The guys returned with 2 bottles of wine and poured them into colored glasses. Abby came over and took hers. She swallowed it with one big gulp and continued dancing. Toba drank hers too. She tried to have a conversation with Teo, but he seemed to be too busy. After some time, she began to feel numb and dizzy. Her head felt heavy, like sand had been poured into it. She observed that other girls were beginning to spin around drunkenly in the room. Abby came over and sat down, holding her forehead to control herself. Suddenly, she collapsed and slumped on the floor. As Toba went over to help her up, she also felt her legs wobble, and she fell down too. Toba fought to stay awake, but it was all in vain as darkness soon filled her brain. The guys, the brain behind all this, carried them carefully into the car. Toba was the first person to open her eyes. She was in a dark room. It was entirely quiet, safe from the snores of bodies lying around. Her eyes scanned the big room. There were tens of female bodies that were tied and chained to the ground, and they were still sleeping. Right beside her was Abby. Toba began to shake her. "Abby! Abby!" Edema whispered with hushed tones. "Abby, wake up." Abby slowly opened her eyes and looked around. She wanted to scream, but Toba covered her mouth. Standing in front of them was a priest, an old, unkind-looking man. He was facing a wall in front of them and was communicating silently with unseen creatures. Abby and Toba gasped in fear. They instantly knew they were in big trouble. "Jesus! Jesus!" Abby exclaimed in a whisper, huddling closer to Toba. "Where are we? How did we get here?" "We are trapped," Toba whispered back. "I told you, Abby. I told you these guys were up to something. Oh God, what have I done?" Just then the old man turned around. He looked at Abby and Toba and began to laugh, showing his brown, uncaring teeth. "You are awake," he said, looking around furtively. Then he smiled in satisfaction. "Okay, it is time." What happened next was enough to melt even the strongest of hearts. The old man ordered his assistants to untie Toba and take her to a secret room. Abby protested and cried all she could, but it was of to no avail. Suddenly, she began to hear Toba's screams from the other room. She was wailing loudly, begging the men to let her alone. Abby began to cry slowly. She could visualize the scene in her mind's eye. The men were trying to force Toba to drink something, and she was adamant, hence the beating she received. Abby's tears were partly because of how she felt for Toba, and also the underlying fear that she was going to be next. In an instant, Edema stopped crying. Abby instinctively knew it was over. "It is done," she heard the old man say to his boys. "Take her to the temple and remove the parts one told you about. Make it happen fast." Abby's blood went cold with fright. Her beloved friend was gone just like that. And she was next. Her tears began to flow faster. The men entered the room and began to untie Abby. She did not bother to resist, knowing how useless it was. She was escorted to the same room Toba had been a while ago. The old man began to inspect her, applying his fingers on sensitive parts of her body. After some minutes, he gave a skeptical look and shook his head. "Are you a virgin?" he asked, looking straight into her eyes. Abby looked away. His eyes were too scary to look at. "Yes. No, I'm not," Abby stammered, unsure of what to say. "I said it," the old man exclaimed, walking away from the room. "My eyes can never deceive me." Abby held her breath. The old man went out and called Tayo and Muhammad, who were waiting outside. "That girl is not a pure one," he said to them. "Why did you bring her to me?" "She is," Muhammad argued. "She is a virgin. She told me that herself." "She is not," the old man insisted. "Only her friend is. I have tested her myself, and she is negative. You need to get me another virgin before the day runs out. Please take her out and throw her away." The two evil guys were angry and frustrated. They untied Abby roughly and led her out of the room. "So you lied to me," Muhammad yelled, his eyes full of rage. "You made me believe you were a virgin." Abby said nothing. She was only concentrating on what lay ahead. What were they going to do with her? The guys contemplated briefly about how to dispose of Abby. When they turned back, they put a blindfold around her eyes and tied a piece of cloth over her mouth. They put her inside the car and drove off. A lot was going on inside their minds. Tayo drove the car very quickly to the spot they were going to throw her away. But suddenly, luck ran out on them. As they approached the highway of a major road, they spotted a police car coming towards them. Immediately, they tried to slam the brakes and make a U-turn. The policeman observed them suspiciously and began to follow up from behind. "Tayo, make a U-turn," Muhammad yelled impatiently. Teo drove faster, hoping to make a quick run and get away. Just then, a long empty truck branched in from another street and entered the wrong lane. Teo squeezed the brakes sharply and shifted the steering, but it was too late. The car hit the truck by the sides and ran into a nearby gutter. Muhammad, Teo, and Abby all sat inside the car, unable to move. The policeman got out and checked them. They were still alive. They were pulled out and rushed to the hospital. That morning, there was confusion among the girls of Iboma Queen's College. Abby and Toba were nowhere to be found. Everything in their rooms and personal belongings were still very intact. It was a big shock and surprise to everyone. What happened? They asked among themselves. How did they just disappear? The principal and teachers decided not to make noise about the incident. They called the girls' parents and informed them about the occurrence. Toba's grandmother was shaking when she arrived. She was restless. We have alerted the police about it, and they promised us their full cooperation. The principal assured them, "We will get them back. It's just a matter of time." The whole situation was confusing to everyone. There had been no attack on the hostel or its environment, and the girls did not leave for anywhere. So how could they have suddenly gone missing? But by afternoon, everything became clearer. The police called and informed the school authorities that Abby was in their care as she recuperated in the hospital. She was not talking yet, but one of the boys, Teo, had recovered and confessed everything to them. What did he say? The principal asked, his voice full of concern. "Where is Toba?" "We are still investigating," the officer in charge said. "I suggest you come to the hospital and see things for yourselves." The principal and Abby's parents went to the hospital. Abby was still lying unconsciously in bed. The two guys revealed everything that happened, but they refused to talk about Toba. They had sworn a life and death oath never to reveal anything about the old man, so they kept shut about it. 3 days later, Abby was resuscitated. She told them all she knew about Toba and everything she heard, but it was not enough to move forward. No one knew what had happened to her. Mama Grace cried her eyes out. Despite assurances from the men, she knew she was never going to see her daughter again. The dream she had the previous day returned to her memory, and she knew it has finally come to pass. Abby narrated everything that happened between them and the Instagram guys. It was obvious that Toba had been used for rituals, but it was not clear if she was left alive. Their story was used as a lesson to all the other girls to be careful with strangers online and not get easily attached to them. They were advised to never trust a free gift from anyone, as there is usually a price to pay for it at last. Abby, the one who had led Toba into the trap, was sorry for everything that happened. She deeply felt for Toba's grandmother and the predicament that had come upon her. From time to time, she paid Mama Grace visits with her parents and tried to console her in everywhere she could. Abby had learned her lesson, but the victim, Toba, was not alive to learn hers. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. Do you feel sorry for Toba? What about Abby? Tell us what you think in the comments section. Also like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. You will love them. Thank you.